Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the November ACES committee meeting. For those who don't know, ACES stands for Arts, Culture, Education, and Schools Committee. We had committee before. We have a hybrid policy, which can be found on our website. Board members are expected to be here in person. We do stream this live on YouTube as well. And we have some members joining us via Zoom. Hello, David Warren. And excused members and members of the public will still be able to participate virtually. Please keep your cameras on if you're joining by Zoom. And we are ready to begin our committee meeting this evening. We always begin with an open session from the public. We will have an update from Vanderbilt University. We have members of the public here also joining us from Morton Middle School and Advocates for Children. Since we have quite a few guests here, and members of the committee, we thought it would be great just to quickly go around. If everyone could just say their name and where they're from, your organization, that would be great. And why don't we just start with our committee members? Jeff, you want to kick us off?
Hi, everybody. I'm Jeff Gardner, new appointee to the Manhattan Community Board 4. I joined in June, and I serve on both ACES and WPE committees.
I'm Victoria Archer. I'm also new. Tenure started in July. I'm on ACES and Triple H's.
James Kellerhouse. I'm the Assistant Vice Chancellor for Strategic Initiatives at Vanderbilt University.
Hi, Daniel Colbert, resident of the neighborhood and PTA co-president.
I'm Brian, co-chair of ACES.
Deputy Strong, co-chair of ACES.
Jennifer Pringle, Advocates for Children.
Jose Segura, Assistant Principal at the High School.
Woody Gonzalez, committee member.
Denise Mitchell, part of ACES and also with Kelsey Langen.
Morton. Hi, I'm Erica Soto, also
One more.
My name is Nubia. I'm from Resident Dispensary.
Great. Well, thank you all again for being here with us this evening. We will begin with our first agenda item, which is an opportunity for members of the public to raise any new business with the committee relevant to our work. I know Layla has new business, but I'll just turn it over to you.
Again, hi, I'm Layla Colbert. I'm PTA co-president of PSNT1. I wanted to come here tonight to talk about the closure of the Row Hotel shelter. 89 of our students are residents at that shelter, which makes up about a quarter of our population. So as they get relocated, it will have a huge impact on our school community as well as our local community. So I came here to talk about providing support for them. PSNT1 is also launching a large donation ask of the entire community and the city at large for food and clothing to help support not only our students in transitional housing, but our families that are on SNAP benefits. More than 50% of our families live at below the poverty line, with more than 20% of those receiving benefits. So this came here to, with that, the families are given a couple of days notice, sometimes longer, sometimes shorter, and are given 2 garbage bags and a Metro card to relocate themselves. We have been informed that ICE has been present at the hotel at various points, sometimes in the lobby for a specific reason, and sometimes just outside. So we are fearful of our students, all of the residents of the Little Gate. And there are some other things that we're doing as a school to help our families, like a walking school bus we're trying to organize and other things, because we assume this will get worse. But until we hear more, we will hold off on those things. But yeah, I'm trying to bring that to this group.
Thank you for being here. So this is an issue that I think our committee has taken up on numerous occasions. I know, Josephine, you've been in touch with Housing, Health and Human Services Committee, who discussed this recently. Do you want to talk about that now, or do you want to?
I can say that we had, the committee had decided to come out with an administrative letter, but we since had more conversations about it and feel that it would probably be better to come out with a committee letter. So we will have a discussion about this evening. Okay.
Question.
Yeah, please.
When you say relocated, are they relocation places or are they just have to figure it out?
So some families are choosing to leave the shelter system and find permanent housing. So they are not given transport to those places. It's just like find a way to a new spot. There are only 100 beds available in Manhattan, and we've been told that they are prioritizing higher needs families for those beds. So any family that has a new baby, pregnant mother, or other needs that are. And then most of the people are going to be relocated to the outer boroughs, which we know in some cases it's going to be impossible for them to stay at 51 or even just their other District 2 schools. Because if you're in far Rockaway, you're not busing to District 2. There's also been countless issues with busing itself from that we've encountered for years now. So to answer your question, no, it's probably not close by, and I don't know exactly where the locations are.
Right. Does anyone else have any questions for Layla? Again, we will be taking this up as a committee with a possible letter later on.
We're going to take a deep dive.
Yeah.
So.
Just one question then. If you have a question from the button, I'm happy to.
Not with the question, more of like a statement. I work with, I'm a social began and also help families, and we called in SNAP, and they're saying that November 11th will be the submission of benefits.
Will be reinstated?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. That's it. Did I say September?
No, you said November. Yeah. Just, do you have just the details you mentioned, I think fundraiser and code drive? Do you want to have a flyer with information and you can share?
Yeah, I have a digital file that's linked to not only our Amazon wish list, but our donation page and a PDF of all of the supports throughout the city. Right. So if people don't want to give specifically to 51, because we know people want to help further than that. It's food, food pantries, other resources that would happily accept time and financial donations.
Would you be able to email that to me, and then I can share that with Jesse, and then we can figure out what would be appropriate.
And we have distributed to several of the elected officials throughout the city, friends and families of our own, and I will be posting it to the District 2 President's Council, which is all the presidents of PTAs in the district.
Okay, and I've invited Layla to come to the next school board, and I'm thinking during the session. And she could also hand out the flyers there as well, but I'll circulate.
Thank you for being here tonight. Okay, are there any other members of the public here or online? Okay. Oh, do we? Okay.
Yeah. Did you have any questions?
Hi, so again, my name is Roman, principal at Louis High School. So my situation is kind of similar to Layla's. We serve basically an immigrant population. I would say basically everyone's under the federal poverty line. Over half of our population is living in temporary housing. And then also concerned about ICE. The students are concerned about ICE. Some students have stopped coming to school because of ICE. What I wanted to discuss today really was the food insecurity at our school. So several years ago, I started an initiative to create a school pantry for our students, and it has been very successful, thankfully. And we have received a lot of donations from the public and also from private sources through Donors Choose. I don't know if anyone has ever heard about that. But we've gotten a lot of food, toiletries, clothing, and Mr. Gardner invited me here today. I'm very thankful to you, Mr. Gardner. I just wanted to bring to your attention that if you help me, help my students, by reaching out to your contacts, if anybody wants to donate to our school, winter jackets, winter coats, not too much clothing. We have a lot of clothing, but the winter jackets, food, And we have a dedicated space in our school. We have a pantry, so we can receive a lot of items from the public or from parent donations, and we can store it in pantry. And in our school, students can access the pantry once a week. And we don't ask any questions. Anyone can just go in, they can just speak to the guidance counselor. Or we have also within our CBO, Catholic Charities also works with us, and they also take the students out to the pantry. They also support us in obtaining donations for our students. So once again, I'm very grateful for any support you guys are able to give me. Thank you.
Wonderful. I would just say, product for one of our local shelters. And Jesse, do you know what happens to the clothes that are left over? I don't think Marie's online, unfortunately.
They stay with the organization to distribute. So
People will go to Metro Baptist and pick up,
Mondays.
Yeah.
Also, students can go there to Metro Baptist.
Yeah.
Picking them up, that information to you. Okay, because it has, there's like brand new coats. It's quite a few left over.
So we get donated everything that was left from ours to them.
You talked about ICE, and we've been talking about ICE a lot within the board and committees. For those students who are not coming, is there a virtual option for them to still at least, be educated?
Yeah, unfortunately, there's currently no virtual option. We tell students that the safest place it can be is in school and getting their education. And last year when Trump won, there was a lot of fear. But some did come back, some did not. And then that's also affecting our enrollment, as I'm sure maybe you guys heard in the news. Especially our school, we usually have 450 students or so, and now we have about 360. So we haven't been able to reach our enrollment.
And just so there are a couple different issues here, and I just wanted to make sure understanding them as best as we can. So one is sort of, food insecurity. Lots of families rely on SNAP benefits, which have been, that funding has ceased with the government shutdown. Remember, but before the SNAP benefits, food insecurity had been an issue in the student population. But then this is just compounded that problem, so the benefits being cut. Then you have a migrant population of families there, so there are worries about ICE and the interaction between students, school, and then could you remind me, is the road shelter also? Do you have families that are at the road shelter that you know of? Is that part of
I cannot say whether we literally have families all over the city and in a variety of shelters. So I cannot say exactly.
Right.
Similarly with the SNAP benefits, since we have a migrant population, I cannot tell you what percent are on it, but I just can tell you 100% of them are or meet that federal poverty line.
Well, I know, Jeff, thanks for making this connection. I know that there are similar resources. Jose, you've been page, we have a link to that, so we can distribute that to community members. Certainly any information, continue to, communicate with Jeff and then with Jesse, and we can circulate information to stay informed and ways that we can, get the word out to other folks and then sharing the program information. I feel that church. So shout out to go there and get wonderful.
If I can school, thank you for the I just donated to the High School for Fashion Industries, which I think is also MCB4. Some of my best friends is a social worker there, and they set up an Amazon wish list, so I was able to bulk, in case your school can do that and share that too. Because I would love if people would like to support, but it's a little harder to carry stuff to your pantries, and the way it works is it's automatically sent to your folder. And I know it's going to the place and then your students come to and hopefully
We'll certainly send that flyer around to everybody. But that's a great idea.
If I just may add, I have circulated the Donors Choose page that Principal Spur shared with me. And after reviewing it, it's pretty unique because it's sensitive to all the different ethnicities and cultures that are represented in the school. And it's also sensitive to the ability to cook food and things of that nature. So it's a pretty comprehensive list that we could share with everybody. But I've also volunteered to put together that Amazon wish list. So for some people, it's Amazon's the easiest solution. It'll ship directly to them.
Any other questions on this? So we're gonna shift into our agenda item number 2, which is an update from Vanderbilt University. So thank you so much for being here. And welcome to the neighborhood, although I feel you've been around now for a little while. Yeah.
But it's the first time he's been here.
Yeah.
So the first introduction, do you want to come to the table, Trust? Did you make it?
You know, I can get out of his way if you prefer being up here.
So this is okay. Just say I know.
Yes.
We send you the presentation.
We got it. I got it.
It's a long presentation.
Yeah.
It'll go faster.
It's not, it's shorter than, next Monday's presentation, which is 150 slides.
Yeah, well, when you go before land use, right? I mean, the architects put together some great slides there. So, well, thank you again all very much for having me here today. I want to thank Josephine, Matt, and Betsy for all of your help too. It's my first time actually in front of the community board and wanted to share what we're doing with Vanderbilt in New York City. So you may have heard some recent press or not that we finally got over one of our regulatory hurdles with the New York State Education Department. I don't know if anyone knows about Vanderbilt starting the campus in the city or the General Theological Seminary where we are located. So the presentation itself actually has some information about the campus in general to walk through to kind of orient everyone. I don't know if that's important or not, but we could start there.
Yep.
Oop, I think, sorry, you're way back. Yeah, it goes way back. There you go. That's right. You're good. So, and that's my presentation. So much. It's really been a pleasure. So I'll walk through this pretty quickly. This is our first campus outside of Nashville. We're from Nashville, Tennessee. We have over 8,000 alumni and parents in the Metro New York area. And of course, New York City is a place where all of our many of our graduates want to come after their time at Vanderbilt. And we have many students coming during their time for internships. They want to be a part of the industry, a part of the arts, and the fabric of New York City. So our location is here on 21st Street between 9th and 10th. It is the historic home of the General Theological Seminary. We signed a lease agreement with the seminary. It's a 99-year lease with a 99-year renewal. It allows them to continue to operate on campus, which makes that a great partnership for us. So Vanderbilt assumes ownership and stewardship of the real estate, the buildings, the historic legacy of the campus. The seminary continues to offer their classes hybrid, and we will close as a university offering classes about 6 weeks a year for the seminary to invite their students back to campus for that intensive experience. So, and again, you can see, you know, there's a lot of great reasons why we want to be in Chelsea, New York. Now, one of which is that actually this campus looks exactly like the Nashville campus. Believe it or not, the red brick, the Gothic architecture, the canopy of trees on campus. And let me just say, if you have not been to the seminary, I invite anyone to come in, just reach out to me and take a tour. We're hosting lots of tours of campus. Now, just do a quick overview. We're 180,000 square feet of the campus, 150,000 square feet of that is interior space. We have 7 residence halls that can house up to 150 students when fully renovated. We have an apartment building on site that will host faculty and staff who are visiting from Nashville, or as I do, I live right on the campus to help get things activated. We're anchored by Hoffman Hall on one side of campus, which is an event venue that's on the corner of 10th and 21st. And on the other side of campus, or the east side of campus, is 9th Avenue. And that's a location, the 9th Avenue building is actually owned by Brodsky Organization. and we own a condo in the basement of that, which is our library. All right, I'm making you drive so much.
Okay, no.
And speaking of libraries, so here we are, just a couple of spaces, and we can walk through this kind of quickly, but it gives you a sense of when buildings were either erected and or their use. So the library will really become a student gathering space for us. And we expect to also activate a gallery in that space to connect to the Chelsea Gallery community as well. We have one sole classroom building on campus. It was built in the late 1800s, has 6 classrooms, and those are being refreshed to welcome students in the fall of 26. We have the 7 residence halls. This is one that you're seeing the interior of. I mean, these are old New York buildings, brownstones, really beautiful spaces. And like many higher education institutions, I was like, oh, this is great. And they're like, now let's put 2 beds in there. Because of course, you know, you have to put two students in each room. We have this beautiful chapel that sits at the center of the campus. It was built in 1889. That'll continue to serve the seminary during their intensives. And then for us, it will really become a gathering space for lectures, recitals, thesis defenses, weddings, and things of the sort. We are in Seabury Hall, so that sort of sits adjacent to the chapel. Will become a welcome center to all visitors. So one of the criticisms we frequently hear about the seminary is that as it was winding down, sort of the gates were always closed. You couldn't get on campus and explore. We'll have then regular business hours where we'll be open. We can welcome members of the community. We have 24/7 security on site now, something that hasn't been there in a long time. So that also has helped improve at least the feel and the engagement with our local residents as well. And that will be housed in Seabury Hall. We have the faculty residences at Moore Hall as well. So that is a building that was built in 1956. And we're starting to help update those in preparation for the fall of 26. And then we have the conference center, and this is a center that a lot of folks maybe have been to. Weddings are hosted here, corporate events. The seminary has hosted events here. And then you'll see later on in the presentation too that Vanderbilt has been hosting some academic symposium events that are open to the community. So it's a great space. And then of course, I think the next one we sort of share is the Highline Hotel, which was once part of the conference center, is now sits separate, but we have a really good relationship with the hotel as we're building and activating campus. I want to give you just a quick overview too of what the engagement with New York State has been, where we are in the cycle of getting ready for students and faculty in the fall of 26. We went through an extensive Attorney General approval of our lease process. That lease was approved early August, and then we closed on the property mid-September. We just announced our next hurdle, which was the New York State Education Department approval process to launch 2 academic programs. And with the New York State Ed program or New York State Ed approval, we are allowed these 2 programs for the first 5 years. So now we're sort of embargoed for launching any other programs. They want to test, see how we do. Are we good colleagues in the higher education market? Are we good members of the community? And so that's great that we got that approval. Campus renovations too. I'd like to actually call this more campus restoration. Because for us, what we love about this campus is that every building that's on the campus will be used for the purpose with which it was built. Residence halls will be residence halls for students, classroom building is a classroom building, the gathering space is the gathering space, and the chapel will stay. So our commitment is to restoring what's been a long list of deferred maintenance challenges with the seminary campus: roofs, windows, accessibility is a big concern too. That campus, and Matt, you've been there. It takes 10 steps to get up onto what is the main level of the campus to get into any of the buildings, and there's stairs into each of the buildings. We want to make sure that this campus is accessible to our faculty, our students, and members of the community. So in this first year, anyone who's on the land use committee here?
Yeah, I am.
You are? All right. Well, you're going to get a little preview, right, of what next week looks like for you. And then, of course, all of CB4 will see that, I think, in early December. Hopefully, we'll be able to share more, as well as actually making those improvements to the campus to make them more accessible. And then campus activation. And so what are the programs? What are the things that we've been doing currently, and what do we plan to do in the future that builds a sense of community in Chelsea, helps us really launch our educational program, and then create a sense of vibrancy in the neighborhood and in New York City in a way that we hope everyone feels good about our location here. And then, of course, we welcome ideas as we do that as well. So the activation of campus, here are the plans that we're working on is continuing education. We're doing some polling with our neighbors to see what interest they may have in coming onto campus for classes or non-credit bearing classes. Executive education, so working with some of our corporate partners and our Owen School of Business, bringing some of those certificate programs to campus as well, and then some post-baccalaureate programs too. So that's on the continuing and executive education piece. Vanderbilt focused events. So these are other ways that we plan to activate the campus around our educational mission. We're having recruiting events, so bringing prospective students and families, international students and families to the campus. We have these things called Commodore launches, where students who are accepted to Vanderbilt then have these big send-off parties as well. We'll be hosting that. Fundraising events as you can imagine, restoring the campus has a significant price tag for us. So activating our philanthropic partners, our community partners and foundations to help support that. Really becoming a home for our New York City community. And as I mentioned, we'll have this welcome center. You can stop in, there's co-working space, sort of touch down, grab a cup of coffee, visit the close, see the gardens that are curated there, and create a sense of community for our Vanderbilt family and our community members. We've had public lectures and events, and I'll talk about some of those and then what is coming. And then, of course, our alumni networking events. So around each of the different industry areas, media, business, investing, the arts, we are building out these networking events for our current members of the community, but also bringing our students from Nashville on what we call career tracks. And so they come into town, there are 20 to 50 of those students, they get a chance to meet alumni who work in those different industries and help them build their networks, and hopefully help us really contribute to the talent pipeline in New York by graduating students who are coming to New York City and helping to keep the vibrancy. We're also hosting non-Vanderbilt related events on campus. So for a long time now, the seminary has hosted third-party corporate events, weddings, memorial services by using, conference and retreat center spaces, the Hoffman Conference Center as well, which is home to the refectory, which is that big ballroom you see on the left-hand side, and actually now see also on the right-hand side. We've also invited members of location scouts and directors and producers to campus as well to look at the space. They love the fact that there are gardens, you have a chapel, you've got a library, you've got residences, classrooms, all of that. So it's kind of a nice turnkey location in Chelsea. And we often hear that they're not able to find kind of a one-stop shop kind of location. They usually have to go all over the city to find that. And so we've been working with them on developing packages, things that work well for certainly, price points and activation, but also will work for our community, because bringing, some of those things into the campus can also create a little bit of anxiety on their part as well. And then, sorry, you have to see a picture of my big head. I did not know that Matt put that on there. That's my executive assistant who put that one on the left. But, before we got the approvals, I think one of the things I'd like to share about Vanderbilt that might be different from some of the other universities that are creating locations is really building that sense of community in Chelsea. So before anything took place, before we had AG approval or New York State Ed, they hired me to live on campus while we were going through the transition to get to know the community I think at Matt, I toured the community board leadership, certainly the CC, the Council for Community Block Associations came in. I've met with several nonprofits, Ken Jockers at Hudson Guild, Osborne, the Whitney, the Highline, Little Island, you sort of name it. The idea is to get out there and to begin building partnerships for them, but for us in the community and being seen as good partners. So participating in the longest table, Halloween, which was a huge treat. If anyone has been to 21st or 22nd, it's like a big block party. They said we'd have 5,000 trick-or-treaters, a little bit of an exaggeration, but you can imagine the bill that my boss paid when I asked for 5,000 candy bars. And he's like, are you kidding me right now? We have a couple of cases left. So if schools would like some Hershey's bars, big ones, by the way, let me know. I'm happy to get those over to you. And then we participated in Open House New York as well. Our architects at Beyer Blinder Bell, who've been working with this campus for a long time, they're experts in historic preservation. They partnered with us to help really activate and provide some insight, legacy, some history about the campus. But here are some of the events that we've hosted and bringing that sense of sort of academics and intellectual life and thought around sort of societal challenges and where we're going. So we've hosted a few. We started on March 6th with one called America in the World, and it brought experts together, faculty, folks. We had someone from CNN talking about what America is doing in the economy and what it's doing in the world economy. We did one on America and humor, which is great. And that, of course, was the one where we had Major Jackson as a co-presenter. Health in America, tackling the challenges of community public health. We did one on Divine Jazz, which was our Blair School of Music and our School of Divinity coming together to talk about how really through gospel music became the birth of the jazz movement. And we had some of our students from our conservatory perform. We had a big Dare to Grow celebration. So Vanderbilt had a huge fundraising campaign. We were celebrating the success of that campaign by taking these celebrations on the road, and New York City was one of those celebrations last week, or maybe a week and a half ago. And then the next panel we have coming up is actually this week. It's AI in the future of higher education. So if you're interested, you can still RSVP. It's Thursday night at 6 o'clock on campus. We have like 280 RSVPs to date. It's a free event, so generally we get about 2/3 of folks who actually do attend. So we tend to have between 200 and 250 people. It's a cocktail hour followed by a great presentation. Julie Samuels, the head of Tech NYC, who's a Vanderbilt grad, will be on the panel with us. What time is that? 6 o'clock. Yep, on Thursday. Fun event. It'll be a great event. And if you don't register and you just want to walk in, 440 West 21st Street, just come on in and we'll get you set up on Thursday night. We'd love to have you. We will then launch our spring event series as well. One will be on the arts and one will be on entrepreneurship and business. Those are all open to the community. So just beware of those events in particular. They're listed on our website. You can sign up. You can sign up to receive our newsletter. You can sign up for text updates from us as well. So let's talk specifically about why we're in New York City. So we're launching 2 programs. One is an undergraduate study away program. What that really is a semester in New York City for what we expect is about 100 students to begin in the fall of 26. Those students will come from our areas like Arts and Sciences, our School of Engineering, and our Peabody School of Education. They'll come in, take 2 classes while they're on campus, and then they'll take 9 credits of an internship while they're in the city. So a big part of our work right now, getting through all the regulatory processes, now really building those partnerships. So I welcome the schools. If you're interested in an intern, we'd love to place a student with you. We have one of the top-rated schools in education in the country. Arts, culture, sustainability, parks and recreation. It's across the board. So we need to build a catalog of about 125 internships for students. So students will actually apply to the Study Away program. They'll be selected based on the strength of their application. They will rank then the industries that they want to have an internship with. And then through an application process, then the internship site folks can work to, interview students and select students for their site. They are faculty supervised internships, so you get the support of an academic partner right on the campus in New York City for them to be a part of that. We do expect, well, I should say most internships are paid internships. Those are the most competitive ones. That said, we are raising a significant amount of dollars to help nonprofits, community partners who can't pay interns. Students will get credit, but we will actually be able to offer them stipends. So again, for like Ken Jockers at Hudson Guild, who's like, my God, we love interns, but I can't get that on a grant application anywhere to pay for it. We are actually happy to raise money, and we have donors very interested in making sure we're investing in those students who can support the vibrancy of the community and not let that be a barrier for the interests that they want to pursue, but also for the contributions that we can make to the community. But we also have a master's in business and technology, a master's of science in business and tech. It's a 1-year full-time program. It's 30 credit hours, and it's a collaboration between our Owen School of Business and our School of Engineering. And that's based on a market study where we saw that there was an opportunity to contribute to, again, that talent pipeline, to contribute to the higher education landscape, specifically in that space. Cornell Tech, other programs are MBA programs. Ours is a Master of Science in Business and Tech. So just to tell you a little bit, well, I told you most of it already. So it's a core curriculum. You take most of the 24 credits in 9 months, and then you spend 3 months in an internship and capstone project. Again, seeing that alignment with industry and partnership to make the direct contribution and get real experience for our students. We talked about the semester of the UNYC. So internships, research projects, capstones. In addition to all of these things that we want to do with our students, we also want to contribute to creating volunteer opportunities for them while they're in New York City. So again, we're looking for group projects. If you're interested, if you know nonprofits that are interested in working with us, we're curating these opportunities. Again, we're looking at the fall of 26 to activate this. So that's something to also think about. And then already these are some of the partnerships that we've developed for the university. These, of course, being the well-known ones. There are lots of other partnerships that we're working on. Currently, though I don't see it up there, maybe I missed it. The Whitney is one in particular we've been working with. That's an interesting one for us because the Whitney, the founder of the Whitney is actually the granddaughter of the founder of our university. So there's sort of an interesting legacy partnership there as well. And that's it. I'm sorry, we didn't put in a question slide.
We've been doing this now.
So I know I flew through a lot of information there, but first and foremost, please check out our website. It's live now that we've made it through the approval process. My contact information, I want to make sure everyone has it as well. Please be in touch if you have some questions and some follow up. Certainly want to entertain some questions.
Well, thank you for being here. It is a beautiful campus. I was lucky enough to go through. And Pamela Wolf was on my tour. President of the Chelsea Black Association. I think she had a story about every tree on campus.
We did.
Someone running into a tree, getting injured, but the trees are magnificent and the building is gorgeous and very exciting to have you all here. Excited to have the students come in the fall. And we're figuring out ways that we can just continue to stay in touch and think about all those opportunities, whether it's internships and other connections that people have. But yeah, let's open up to questions.
I think Dave's got a question.
David.
Hi, welcome to the neighborhood. I went on your website to try to get on the email list to be invited to some of your programs that are open to the public, and I can't find where to get on that email list because I'd like to go to some of your programs, especially if you do historical, community-related programs.
Did you do? Sorry, David. Do you mind me asking a couple of questions? Did you do that recently, or did you do it a little bit ago?
I did try to do it tonight, right around your time, your presentation.
I will. I'll make sure you get the link, the exact link for it, and if we can email that out or include that in the minutes, that would be fantastic. David, we'll get that to you.
Thank you. And once again, welcome to the neighborhood.
Oh, I appreciate it. Let me make a note real quick.
It sounds like a very exciting program. I'm ready to go back to school and be one of these people. Driving to PS11 yet, or any of the elementary schools here?
I'll be honest, it's not an area that we've had many introductions to yet, so we would love that.
And the superintendent, I think that would be a great way to get started, so we'll set that up.
Fantastic, I appreciate that, thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions? Yes.
It's really good to see and very excited about it. Been in New York City all my life. You mentioned something about research projects, and we were at a meeting for the community board recently talking about research for the community around homelessness, et cetera, et cetera. Do you take ideas around research projects?
Absolutely. Yeah, we would love that.
Yeah, we had that big meeting about what we're doing and we do some research.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. So I think the other thing it is like we'll have students who are here doing these research and internship projects. We also have students back in Nashville who need to do these capstone projects as well and want to do research projects. So in addition to the campus, we generally have between 20 to 25 per semester who are just living sort of throughout the city, doing an internship or capstone somewhere, or they're just in Nashville doing that capstone and they're, using Zoom and stuff to remote in. So let us know. We're happy to connect you to students who can help with that. We're working, the longest table, I mentioned that we did that program. So Marianne, who lives on 21st Street, who started that, we're working with her on the issues around loneliness and community, and building community, because the longest table was started, right, to bring people together and that epidemic of loneliness that folks are feeling. So they're trying to build some, and it's like legit, I would like sort of academic legitimacy to a nonprofit. And we have students and faculty members too. We also have faculty who may be interested in the work that you're doing from an academic lens as well. Yes, sir.
Does Vanderbilt anticipate having programs for high school students?
We do. It's a great question. I'll be honest, I have not done that deep dive. They do extensive programming in Nashville on with high school students. We do some here. They've really been related to admissions programs and not as much on sort of broader high school programs. But I'd love to. It's something I have to dig into. We want to do that here. So I'd love to be in touch to also understand what would be helpful for the community, because this community certainly is a different community from Nashville.
Well, Liberty High School is right on 18th Street, so not far from the campus,
Right.
And sort of making those connections. And Lab is also right down the street.
Yeah.
They have a middle school and a high school, so just making some in terms of admissions, or if there are programming opportunities for students as well.
Be great. I'd love to follow up. Thank you.
Do you have a card with you?
I do. I think I probably only ran out and realized when I was walking up that I probably only have one card with me or something. We can share James's information as much as you'd like me to share. I literally. So
Jesse's probably the best person.
I know. Thank you, Jamie. I appreciate it. Right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
They might cry. I want the chocolates as well.
Yeah. Believe me. I will bring you some chocolates.
Yeah.
You will. This is where the ACES committee turns into balls in school. Yeah.
Yeah, hey, from the board meeting.
Yeah.
I know, right? Exactly. If anyone else wants, we call them Vandy bars instead of candy bars. It's really just I know it's really just a Hershey bar with a wrap on it that is Vanderbilt focused. So, but fun ways like, there's no bad idea is what I'll share. Like we just want to be involved in the community. We want to have folks on campus. We want to be in the community volunteering, building programs where we can, where it makes sense. So yes, we have capacity that we have to be concerned about. We have focus, and it's really on delivering the educational mission. But please be in touch with us.
Very well, thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it.
What couple things, so just for folks, right, so Vanderbilt will be back to CLU on Monday with a very extensive landmarks presentation. So anybody interested in seeing the details of what the future of that site will look like is like
Here?
Monday here. Monday is.
Oh, it is here?
Yep.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So as James said, it hasn't been touched really, and so for a very long time. So it'll be interesting to see. And this too, I would just want to raise this to you mention the filming industry, and it's been there for a while. Yeah. But I will say, just as historically, and I'm glad you bring up the impact to the community. Mm-hmm. It has not recently, but I would say in my 10 years here, early on, it had been, I would say, overly used. And not a lot of thought was made to the block associations and to the communities surrounding that. So I would think working with CCBA in particular, because they're very good at getting funds out to those individual block associations impacted by these filming, working with them is a good way to make sure you're kind of doing it appropriately and it's not being overly used. Because I think in the years past, it had been the case. Yeah, and it just puts a sour taste in everybody's mouth that, I think you've probably been, you remember that, remember? This is years ago, but nonetheless, I just, new neighbors come in and then locations, people are going to see that space and their eyes are going to, they're going to be, their mouths are going to work, sorry. And they'll do anything they can do to get this space. So
absolutely. I think one of the things for us, and not to get into too much detail, is that, we're delivering an educational program on campus. So our tolerance for high volume of external things is not high. It's to help offset some of the investments we're going to make and the startup costs for the campus. But our focus ultimately, if I interfere with the educational mission by trying to sell campus for a Hulu, honestly, it's for me to be on a Hulu shoot. I'll have big problems with our provost. So, but point well taken.
Great.
Thank you.
All right.
Great.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Nice to meet you. Okay, so third agenda item, which is Morton Middle School. So thank you again for being here.
All right.
Yours.
Higher and middle.
Are we good?
Everyone, my name is I'm a parent at 75 Morton Middle School. The name of our school is our address. So we're on the street between Hudson and Greenwich. And I really want to start by thanking Josephine for inviting us now. Not just for all this work. I have to be the speaker here tonight. So I'll pass the mic in a moment. I'll introduce myself and present a few of these slides, but really just wanted to say hi. We're down the street. We are public teaching middle school. We are relatively new, brand new building. It was a labor of love from community of parents in that area that didn't have a lot of middle school choices. And part of why I asked her to come, I met her, I actually met Layla too, when the superintendent hosted one of the first community coffee conversations at PSP1. We're making a real effort to do outreach to other parts of the city that are still in our zone middle school. And I did hear some of course, you have middle schools in CP4, but we just want to be in a consideration set. There are some parts of your zone of CP4 that middle schools are not closed. I know there were some parents who were talking about like we need another middle school, and the story of our school is that there wasn't one
in your reach and the community predecessor parents, which we're very grateful for, activated to have it built, and now we're the beneficiaries of kids get to go to school. So I'll pass the mic to my fellow parents, and then I'll just tell you about our school and how we love it.
Hi, my name is Elaine Moreno. I am a first year parent at 75 Morton, but I also used to live in house kitchen. And I had 3 daughters, and when we moved there, it was time for middle school, and I said, well, where are my kids going to go to school? So that's when I came to find out about Morton through my research, and then I visited the school, and the welcome and support of the parents and the principal and assistant, everyone all was wonderful because I have a daughter special education. So she's in the 12 to 101. So it's very difficult finding a special education setting where you felt safe, supported, heard, and my daughter has autism. But when you look at her, as people say, she doesn't look autistic. She doesn't have a look. So she walked there. She doesn't, no one knows what her diagnosis is unless she shares it. She feels seen. She's made lots of friends. She's been involved in activities. She's went on field trips. She's experienced things that she's never experienced. And she's also been challenged. So just because she has special education setting, she's been challenged with the curriculum. The safety in the school was one of my main concerns because when you have a child that is on the spectrum, certain things like chaos is, is important to ensure that she felt safe in the school. And school safety is wonderful. I walk in the building, there's no chaos, everybody in and out. You see the principal, she welcomes you. These 2 fellow parents, they took me on the wings, on SLT, on PA, type of one. Like I was greatly involved in the school. And being from this community, I was able to understand the need for the school. So I welcome parents from Mr. Chelsea up until,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, 14.
welcome parents from within the area if you need them to school with the vibrant parent support, community support, and also leadership support. Please come and join us. Let me get that answer. Thank you.
Hello, I'm also a certified Morton parent. This is my 5th year at the school. One of them is graduating in June. I'm from Georgia, and my son is in 7th. I'm here to talk about how I love the school, what a gem it is, and support it. Oh, okay. So we go to the next line. Why do we realize that Morton? It's a beautiful school that happens to be a beautiful building. It's a diverse and welcoming. We welcome students from all neighborhoods and help them achieve their goals. Rigorous academic programs, dedication to social emotional learning. As we all know, this school is a very challenging, and our school is very supportive of this social and emotional learning. Opportunities for creative exploration. Our amazing teachers, I can't say enough about teachers, how accessible they are, how supportive they are, how they care about each individual students. And they reach out to each parent with any issue, any child struggling, and they work with parents and they prove every student that comes to the school is successful. And our students are such as our students, including my child, who's at some LaGuardia, they're the many students that have got accepted to science and global tech, box science. We have students in really actually next slide. Sometimes we recognize that every single member of our diverse student body has to follow. Our mission is, it's our mission to empower every student to inquire, question, be, and evolve as part of this community to achieve success in high school and beyond. We need each student where this is very, very important. So we want these students where they are, and we have 2 programs, accelerated and general ed. accelerated challenge students if they are already achieving high, or to take them to the next level. Students who are in the general ed supports them to make sure they exceed their abilities and they achieve high performance. With that,
yeah, so just as a snapshot on the next slide, we wanted to feature our diverse programs. As we just said, we are a gen ed zone school, rigorous academics for every student, make sure that they're meeting state standards. We have an accelerated track, which is a pathway to the algebra and biology regents exams, so the high school wants some credits. I get ICT classes in every grade, and as Renee said, there's 12 one-to-one class, special education programs, as well as English as a new language. We're also a school that, our enrollment has sports to meet the needs of the youth. We're very happy to receive students in our school for that academic program as well. So the next slide really speaks to what we send our students off to. Of course, every parent cares what happens next. And our grads, high school hours reflect the student interests, their abilities and their passions. So you can see that our students are landing at audition required and portfolio required schools, some of which we've mentioned, consortium schools, dual language, the screen schools and specialized high schools. And of course, like the open admission schools, we're really proud that our students have become in recent years, this reflects the last 2 years of Morton graduates, are landing or they continue to grow and we hear back how well prepared they are to continue their educational experience. The next slide just digs a little bit deeper because we get asked about it. And it is something that we're proud of, that 10% of our grads from the last 2 years have received offers from specialized high schools, which, that there's a lot of demand for that. And we're proud that that's the average sitting is 5%. So we are already creating opportunities with our rigorous programs for students who want to go to these kinds of schools to be able to get in and thrive there as well.
We love more and we welcome to 4 areas, PS11, PS1, in Southwest, PS51, PS30, PS11, and PS34. And one thing I want to share too, that's wonderful about our school, and that was great for me in here. The class sizes are less than 24.
We're already meeting the New York State. Yeah, we got an offset.
So it's that's a lot more individualized attention, more greater ability to succeed, and let's be heard as a student when you have a smaller class size, and also great for the teachers so they're not feeling overwhelmed and they're still being supported. So thank you. You want to make questions of anyone else? And here's on slide.
Well, I think if we have a video, we think it's going to show. And now we'll have a speech out a little bit. Our best advocates.
It's not going to be all boys and the community is so amazing. Here, there's so many people, and everybody's so different from each other. Knowing each of them, it's like a story that's unraveling. I was a part of this Black Student Union. We made this right here. It's the program that we go to feel supported. Being there with teachers and friends has really made me grow as a person. It's opened me things, and I've learned a lot. Like second quarter was definitely challenging. I had a lot of work, but it was also really fun. I've gone to PS31 and next also PS3, but this has been the most challenging. I'm at the accelerated program at Morton. It's a little faster, it's more challenging. I have ADHD and a 504, and we're in a size made me feel really comfortable and accepted. We have this program called Youth, and we have this club, which is like portfolio prep. I worked with someone to like help me get my portfolio, gave me advice, and it really helped me get into a goal. I love Morton because of everything. It's a diversity that you have with people. That's the first I have from teachers and friends. It's nice to come here. I like because Morton is myself and people who I just help me find hobbies, and it just really makes me feel more comfortable with myself. I like Morton because there are students from feel like around the world. It makes me feel more connected to everyone because we all went out.
Thank you.
One thing that I was parents when I went to public middle schools on the list, they asked about what about after school. So we have Manhattan Youth, which is a free after school program, and it's from 3:15 to 5:30. They have competitive and non-competitive sports and abundance of activities throughout the day. And it's also served as an aftercare if parents are running late and they need a safe place for the students. So that's a plus for many parents who want something for the students.
Thank you again for being here. It's great to hear that you all have positive experiences and your students your children are enjoying school. So that's always great to hear. My son is in 4th grade, so it will be soon that we are thinking about middle school. We live in Health Kitchen, and I know we're zoned for 75 Morton. I'm curious, do you have a sense of like where students are coming from in the city? Are they in the neighborhood? Are they from all over the district?
I think there were very historical conversations about maybe drawing the lines like closer. And I know from the original parents, current parents, that some of the teachers who've been at the school since it's open, that we want to remain its own school and pull from much broader, in these, which is why we're here. And we have had a lot of the students from 51 to 212, like a few, but we know we're gonna try to recruit more. And you know, there are also some students, because we're a new school, and our enrollment numbers aren't all, and it is a big school, it's a big beautiful school. I wish I could like the gentleman from Vanderbilt who like keep the children have to coordinate that. But it is we have space, and so we also have some students who are from Brooklyn, from like other parts of the city, and we have room to grow, and so we want to put ourselves out there. Make sure we get the word out about the senior school to consider.
When my daughter was in 5th grade, I started my school because of 75 Morton. I wanted to make sure that we were zoned for that school because we didn't, this area, CB4, so we have to keep that line, you know, we want to continue to stay there, and we will do, you know, would like to help them wherever we can to get them out. It's the bus going down, isn't it?
And we're accessible to us parents. We all are reachable, we all are foot, via email, WhatsApp, we're very accessible to any parent. And the great thing about the 3 of us is we have children, all different settings, all different needs. For welcoming and needing us for us.
I'm so happy that you mentioned that, because that really is the backbone of the school. It's the parent community. I mean, that just really makes us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just one comment is it's good to hear about your daughter with disabilities. That building used to be the Office of People with Disabilities. And I used to work in it was OMRDD, and it is now OPWDD, but that building is where a lot of disability services in the city was you know, yeah.
We have a District 75.
Yeah, next door.
Yes.
Oh, right, yeah.
Just a quick question you mentioned that you've met all the class size requirements already, which is fantastic, but you're still under enrolled. How much space roughly do you think you have? How many more students can be enrolled at 75?
Well, before COVID, I think that's the
The school was 2017. Year was your 800.
we're planning for 1 year for that.
And then they two, yes. So they was over.
So you could probably take 200 more students and still meet class size requirements.
Nice days, 2 to 9.
More really close to require, if there's an end,
But the under-enrollment, some school, they're doing really well right before COVID happened. So a lot of people moved themselves, some of them, in the city general, enrollment was low because people haven't moved out the city. So that also.
Making a comeback.
some party.
Are they chocolate bars?
You should definitely bring them on Monday. Yeah. It'll keep us all awake.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, so
Looking at my
moving
suitcase.
right along. So turning to Advocates for Children, thank you for being here. Do you want to first get the thoughts?
I have Jennifer Pringle from Advocates for Children. I think with this committee, we have been talking for many years about how to support our student contemporary housing. As most of you know, we have, because of the hotel, we have many students who are living in shelters because the hotels are being used as temporary shelters. We have a very large student and family populations who are unhoused, and that continues to rise. So the students who are in the hotels here are within our collection of so that is why you see at PS51, for instance, we have 89 students in 10,000, which is a quarter. And now that that shelter is now closing, a lot of questions about what will happen. But anyway, I just want, first of all, for Jennifer to introduce herself, the work that you do around supporting these students, and just kind of give us overall sense of what's happening, and then maybe we can talk more granular about actually support.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me. Thank you for the nice introduction. Again, I'm Jennifer Pringle. I'm from Advocates for Children of New York. For those of you who are not familiar with us, we are a nonprofit. Our mission is to ensure that New York City students facing barriers to success get the access to services and support that they need to be successful in school, focusing on students from low income backgrounds. I am a project director there, focused on students in temporary housing. Advocates for Children provides information and advice to parents, community members, folks from the Department of Ed will call us with questions. We also provide legal representation to parents, particularly in special education hearings, suspension hearings, things where parents need legal representation. We also do workshops and trainings for community members, and we do policy advocacy as well as impact litigation. As I mentioned, I'm focused on students in temporary housing. What that looks like is ensuring that students can stay in their same school, have access to free transportation, and have access to needs. So, because one thing that we know is that the one factor
that is most closely associated with future homelessness is whether or not you graduate from high school. You are 4.5 times more likely to experience homelessness if you do not have a high school diploma. So if we want to break the cycle of homelessness, we have to make sure that our young people in shelter today have access to the educational supports that they need to be successful. Unfortunately, for far too many families, time in shelter is a disruption of educational services and really sets children behind. Why is that? I'm sure you've seen this play out in the schools right here. 40% of families are placed in shelter in a different borough from where their kids go to school. Not community school district, not neighborhood, different borough from where they go to school. So you're talking about tremendous displacement. Then when you look at all of the shelters for newcomer students, we have the 60-day rule where families were only given 60 days of a particular shelter and then they were moved. Fortunately, that is no longer at play, but now we're looking at the road closing where we have 1,500 children who are now going to be moved. And as Layla mentioned, there are very few shelter beds in Manhattan. So most of the children at the row are going to be placed in a borough outside of Manhattan. Our school transportation system is plagued with problems. So it can take weeks to get busing set up for students in temporary housing. So students in temporary housing in grades K to 6 are entitled to busing. They're also entitled to busing in 7th and 8th grade if they have an IEP that doesn't already include busing. But unfortunately for many families, the bus, it's not a matter of a few days for busing to get set up. It's a matter of a few weeks. And listen, it is November 11th, right, today? And the 10th, and I have parents contacting me this week who do not have busing set up since the start of the school year. This is because we have busing contracts that haven't been rebid in over 45 years. We have a customer service system at the Office of People Transportation that is broken and needs to be revamped to better meet the needs of today's families. So unfortunately for many families in temporary housing, they're put in this impossible position of, do I go to the housing appointment or do I take my kid to school? So for many families, although you have a legal right to school stability, it is completely useless because the systems are not in place to actually allow you to continue enrollment in the same school. So what can be done about this? So several things. One is, this is not just a school problem. This is a Department of Homeless Services problem. This is the ACS problem. We have all these different agencies that are putting competing demands on families. So, Advocates for Children strongly believes that you need an interagency solution. You need agencies coming together, working together to prioritize school success for children who are homeless. So, for example, to ensure that you have shelter placements closer to the school, to ensure to focus on chronic absenteeism. The rate of chronic absenteeism for students in shelter is twice as high as that for permanent house. And again, it's because we have these systemic issues that prevent children from getting to school every day, that puts them behind academically. So you can see how one thing leads to the next, when instead we should be making sure that all city agencies are collectively working together to ensure the success of students currently in temporary housing. Like I mentioned, we need to fix, and another thing too is we need an interagency initiative to make sure that the young children in shelter today have access to early care and education programs. Any of you who have a young child who are trying to secure early childhood education services, I know what a beast that can be to navigate the child care application and find an available seat that meets your family's needs. For families in shelter is that much harder. So again,
coordinated interagency initiative looking at different aspects of school success and what that looks like, and making sure there are policies and practices in place. Fixing our transportation system, so that, you know, school stability actually families, and then, you know, things like I said before, making sure the Department of Home Services is placing families closer to this. So that you don't have the long commutes, back and forth. This is very short. Presentation. I know you all have been listening to folks, so I really just wanted to answer your questions, in particular here at Manhattan. I know with the road closing, if you have, I can share what information I have about that, but as I'm sure you know, that is very much an evolving situation. It was originally going to be open until March. Now it's December 31st. People have mixed feelings about it. Obviously, moving families is going to be very destabilizing, but as we've heard, you know, honestly, the borough has a target on it right now. And I know we certainly heard from families about how scared they are. So I think there's some good reasons why the city may want to accelerate, you know, moving families to other sites. What does that look like? They're going to be facing families, facing moves, so it's not going to be all on the 31st. And then they will, if families do not have an alternative housing arrangement, they will be offered a shelter placement within the Department of Homeless Services. Department of Homeless Services shelter placements do not have time limits on them, so theoretically, families will be able to stay there until they find permanent housing. Most of the shelters for newcomer families or asylum seeker families, migrant families are in hotels, even within the Department of Homeless Services. So when thinking about how best to support families, you know, what we've heard is honestly gift cards, you know, because you don't have access to cooking facilities in many of these hotels. So flexibility and being able, having the flexibility to really get what an individual family needs. If you're placed in a shelter that has a kitchen, then it would be great to have food that you can store and use. It would be great to get the, you know, appliances, but for many families that are in hotels. And, you know, I heard about this event from this council member is giving out free air fryers only to have the shelter staff then throw them all away because they weren't allowed to have them in the hotel. So just being mindful that it's not every family is going to be in a different situation and have different. One thing that we are trying, and Advocates for Children, we're really trying to push out is how important it is that schools have conversations with families about what their school options are, and that they are well prepared to address the transportation challenges. So making sure that they have the parent Metro cards, because all parents of students in temporary housing can get a free Metro card to take their child to school, if your child's in the bus, and making sure that supply that. And then making sure that they're really on top of their administration for address changes, putting in the busing request, following up with OPT, because it's a squeaky wheel that gets the school bus. You know, it's the persistence of following up with office people transportation to get the transportation. And oftentimes that's the difference between whether or not a student will stay at the school or will transfer.
Thank you so much for that. Can you talk about what are some of the specific challenges that asylum seeking students are faced with?
I mean, as was alluded to earlier, I think there is a real fear about, legitimate fear and anxiety about going to school. But as Segura, sorry, had mentioned, that not even close. The schools is the safest, oftentimes it's one of the safest places for students. You know, it is where they have, they are surrounded by adults who care about them, who are invested in them, where obviously they're receiving, you know, instructional services and meals, as well as an array of other services for the family. And shelters are becoming more and more a target. So schools, thank goodness, haven't been, but shelters are definitely, on the radar.
Are schools still considered safe havens? Just something about that.
I mean, everything's a question these days. I mean, you can't guarantee safety anywhere, unfortunately. I mean, the DOE has a protocol for what happens when non-local law enforcement shows up at the school. Who's the girl can talk to, sure, in terms of video calling and asking for, a court order. But these are crazy days that we're living in. But certainly anecdotally, I have heard about much more ICE presence in shelters than I have in schools.
Right, right. Because one of the things that we would like to advocate for, we've written letters on this subject before, asking for better busing, to stay in the same community, pretty much everything that you mentioned. But I think that one thing that is different now is that when families are given, if they ask for placement in a DHS shelter and are given placement somewhere, that DHS actually provides a van, because we know DHS has vans and actually drives the family to this location for the families. And also just to make sure that on the other end, they actually get their room, because there have been stories where families have been told, yes, there's a vacancy at this shelter, and then they get there and they're told, scary. So that's one of the things that, we're thinking about adding to the letter, but if there's anything else like that that might be helpful in the situation.
I mean, I would say making sure DHS is revisiting shelter placements when they're unable to initially place a family close to school. The shelter census is changing hour by hour. It's always, there may not be a unit available that can accommodate the family today, but there is tomorrow. I would say revisiting on a regular basis, after a week, after a month, to see if there is an appropriate unit available closer to the school so that they can stay. One thing that is certainly something that, has come out in these presentations, but also that we've heard directly from parents, is just what the sorts of stability schools have been for families throughout all of this. And so, and has been so instrumental in helping them be able to achieve permanency and leaving the shelter system. So to disrupt that for so many families is such a huge setback. So again, having DHS revisit the shelter placements where they're not initially able to place the family close to the school, it would be very, provided that the family is interested.
Yes, of course. Okay, great. Any other questions?
So Jennifer, thank you for being here and this information. I was wondering, and Josephine, maybe you've heard, but just in terms of the accelerated timeline coming from, April to the end of the year, have you heard what the rationale was as to why that decision was taken? And then I also just want to welcome Maria, who's a committee member here. She also co-chairs our Housing, Health, and Human Services Committee, and I know their committee has brought this up through a letter, so thank you. And we'll talk more about sort of that letter and things that we want to include, but it's certainly helpful to hear your perspective, what families are going through. Certainly transportation is like a huge issue. And it's something that this committee has taken up, but continues to be a real challenge. So we will certainly add that to the list.
What are you seeing in the city overall in terms of numbers? Going up, going down?
So this past year, there was over 154,000 students identified as homeless, which is the first time it was over 150,000. I mean, it's just mind-boggling for her. But also want to emphasize that I think a lot of times people say, well, this is just because of immigrant families, and it's not. Unfortunately, family homelessness is a long-standing issue in New York City. This was the 10th year in a row that there was more than 100,000 students identified as homeless in New York City. So it is shocking
So is this directly related to the housing crisis? I mean, evictions, is that why that there's so many people entering the shelter system?
You know, schools are required to identify students experiencing homelessness, but they do not collect data as to the reasons. We know certainly, from our homeless services, one of the main drivers of homelessness is from domestic violence. That continues to be one of the reasons why families seek shelter. But also, I mean, you know, it's affordability. You know, you have families who can afford where they're living, who are definitely tripling up. That becomes unsustainable when they go to shelter. I mean, that's typically what I see as kind of the trajectory for families in shelter. They didn't just land in shelter. It was they stay, you know, they're staying with mom, they're staying with grandma for a bit, they're staying with a cousin for a bit, you know, and then just falls apart.
I have a question. And when you gave the number 154 housing children, were you counting children that are living from home to home, or just children living in temporary housing?
Yeah, so that the 154,000 students are those who meet the definition of homeless under the Federal Convention Act, which is what schools have to collect data on. That includes kids in temporary doubled up situations as well as those in shelter.
Yes.
Just a quick question about, it's a very broad question, but October 2022 really broke open a lot of the shelter system. And I'm curious if that situation has helped shed light on pre-existing conditions that you were trying to gain traction in, or whether or not that's just really obfuscated the things you've been fighting for, because we're not going to be able to build 1,500 shelters in Manhattan close in a timely period, right? So how, I guess, did that help shine a light, or did that just confuse the issue?
Oh, I mean, for some people, it just was not even on their radar that kids were living in shelter. Yeah, for many people, they think of homelessness as a single adult. So I think in some respects it raised awareness about feeling homelessness and how much it impacts young children. On the other hand, I think, I mean, what's the priority of the federal government right now? New York is no different. It also raised a lot of feelings. That were not necessarily welcome. So I think it's both. Again, I want to emphasize, like, I in my core and research bears this out. Obviously, we need more housing, but that is going to take a long time to meet demand. But what we can do, and what we do currently have the capacity to do, is make sure that our young people are successful in school today. Yes. And truly, education is the key to breaking family homelessness. Make sure our young people are on a trajectory of success and independence. And you know, in order to do that, the city knows where the children are. They know where they're living in shelter. They know what schools they go to, and they need to make sure that there are greater targeted supports for them. And that, again, they don't have these policies and practices that derail kids' education, that we're making sure that they're put on a path for success.
In terms of the evictions that are happening, the letters that they're getting, are they doing this 7 days a week, or is it restarting? Because what's been very helpful for some families is to be able to go to the DO center, because you get a lot of support there. So if these evictions are taking place on the weekend, or say, you know, right before Christmas or right before Thanksgiving, that's going to be even pose more of a challenge for families.
So, my understanding, and this could change tomorrow, and this is very much a dynamic situation, is that they are scheduling it out so that, you know, between, and again, don't hold me to these numbers, and 10 to 15 families are moving out per day during the week. There's DOE's, there's Department of Education staff on site at the Grow who is charged with providing information to parents about what their school options are. They can do over-the-counter enrollment for elementary school age children. They can go to Family Welcome Center for high school placements. They're supposed to be giving information about transportation options. You know, if you're scared, if you are understandably emotional about what this means, about moving someplace else to a totally different borough, possibly neighborhood, place, your ability maybe to take in what's being shared with you may be somewhat limited. So, you know, one of the things that we're saying is, again, how important it is for that information to be repeated so that, you know, schools have it, you know, the folks at the Row have it, Family Welcome Center has it, so the family comes in, you know, saying, you know, what are my options? That, again, no wrong door, they're getting.
I'm not sure if you've noticed that. So you say that it's DOE on site, DHS is on site, at the languages, it's a huge barrier.
I mean, they have the access to language line. You know, I don't know. They do not have in-person interpretations.
So this is actually a question for AP Segura. Has DOE been effective in communicating with school leadership what families can do when they're served with these notices? Okay.
So even like with the question about ICE, we know the protocol, it's like up in the air.
David, you got your hand up?
Yes, thank you for coming in. It's terrible what's going on. And the work that you're doing is very good. What specifically would you like from us as a committee and a community board? And the second question is, and you might not be able to answer this because it's more speculative, how do you see the incoming new administration dealing with these issues?
So, I mean, based on what I've heard tonight, what you're doing, being in contact with schools, helping out with the drives for support, I think those are all things that are wonderful. You know, again, providing that coordination, communication, and to make sure that parents are getting the information, good information, is all very much needed. I don't know what's in the letter, but certainly urging our city leaders to prioritize kids' education regardless of their housing status is very much important. And, you know, also, and Layla had mentioned this, and one thing that I've been talking about the needs of students experiencing homelessness, but also the school communities themselves that have this type of turnover are also harmed. You know, if you're a classroom teacher, you constantly need to readjust your teaching because it's a new set of kids in your classroom. Or if you're a child and all of a sudden your best friend is gone and you didn't know where they went, you know, all of that has an impact on the school community. So it not only serves the child experiencing homelessness who's moved to have that school stability, but it also helps the entire school community. In terms of the next administration, I mean, you all know as much as I do. I mean, we don't have a lot of details about it, although I was happy to see that he has mentioned about he is aware that there are students in temporary housing, which is a first step. That has not always been the case with previous mayors, and has indicated that he wants to provide additional supports to them. So, you know, we'll see. We'll see. Again, Advocates for Children is pushing that we have some mayoral recommendations for the new administration, you know, which includes You know, things like I mentioned, improving transportation, having an interagency initiative, so getting all the players at the table and making sure they are focused on promoting educational success for students.
I hope someone from the transition team reaches out to you all. All right. Is that right? Any other questions?
Great. So thank you again. So I think we'll turn now to the committee discussion around well, the letter, right? I think this is what we need to keep. So there was a letter that came out of HHS. The recommendation that it would be going through exec, but I think we want to make sure that this committee also has an opportunity to be on the record with what we're hearing from the school perspective and the student perspective, and what Jennifer brought to our attention, which unfortunately we've known about some of these issues, but again, sort of what is relevant to the row, and putting that into context in a new letter from this committee. So, I think this is an open discussion about sort of things that we have heard so far about the closure of the Row Hotel. As a reminder, this was originally slated to close in the spring, in April. Now there's an expedited timeline where families are now getting the notice that they need to move out before the end of the year. And there are, hundreds of students that attend our local schools. And so it's having a real impact on what their decision will be. Being able to stay in the community, do they okay? So,
The ETJ letter specific to the row.
it is, yes. I haven't seen it, but
Yes,
Did you
yes,
provide that?
actually, right, we did. So we're actually going to put the letter out in this committee, yes. So, but we need to have a vote on it. Someone needs to suggest a vote or suggest a letter. Thank you so much.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Be here.
Procedurally,
The procedure, we need
to make a motion to write a letter on behalf. I'm happy to make a motion to.
I'll second this motion.
Whoa. Guys, I step out of the room for 30 seconds, having illusions of grandeur. Okay, all right, go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion that the committee write a letter in support of families in short-term housing at the Row, and ways that we can help coordinate their potential transition.
Nice, I get it.
Well,
Yes.
no, not yet. But I think there was very specific requests.
I'm going to write them in a minute. Yeah.
You've already thrown those in. Oh, yeah. I think that just needs to be included into the motion, so we're clear what.
The letter is going to focus on specifically the road closure and how it affects the 89 students that are currently at PS 51. So we will continue to ask, there will be some background information as we've always done, but we will focus on a couple of items. The interagency solution, like so these different agencies will need to talk to each other to figure out the best way to support these students so we can avoid the chronic absenteeism. So they need to fix the transportation system. The focus on early care and early childhood care and education programs, so kids don't end up dropping out of school. But I think the real highlight here is going to be, it's about ICE and about securing vans, DHS for families who choose to continue on in the system, and the DHS to take shelter placement, that a DHS van takes the family to the new location. So they arrive there safely, they're not on the subway, just a target on their back basically because they're going around with all of their belongings in backpacks. Right? Not being able to speak the language, don't know where they're going, they could be sent way out in the walkways, they could be sent to Staten Island. That had
had to move them, like take a, pay for a taxi.
Yes,
Yeah.
right,
When then
exactly.
is really limited.
Right, right. And, families are very afraid. So the vans will be one ask, right, that they're transported. Another ask would be that, as Jennifer mentioned, that DHS is consistently revisiting, shelter placement. So if somebody gets placed out in Staten Island, they don't just get left there. DHS is constantly looking at the system and identifying, oh, okay, actually now we have another place in CB4. Why don't we move this back so they can be close to their home school? And then another one would be have no evictions on Christmas Eve or the eve of Thanksgiving. That's a huge place of support for families. They're not open, just the ability for them as well.
The one thing that, for this letter, I know that we know of the PS51 students, but do we know that could there be other students at, 212, 111 that we just don't know about? So I want to be just inclusive of, we know that there's 80 some odd 81 students, but could multiple,
Right,
so I just want to make sure we're
yes,
including
yes.
other schools,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah, that all sounds
Yeah.
great. And
Good point. You should also include the high schools if you can. I mean, also what I'm going to say is quite obvious, but and I think probably everyone would agree is that, this is tragic and a disgrace that this is happening to the most vulnerable people in our community. And I just really don't know how to help, and I would love to. And I just feel it's just heartbreaking what is happening to them. And I think somehow if we could put in a letter how this is without being too emotional, I think that would be great. I don't know if that can be done.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point because 10% there's 1,500 kids at the row. So of course it's more than 80 to 50 kids at the high schools. 51 happens to be the zone, the hotel is zoned in their school catchment, so that's why they're getting a lot. 111, I think, is Skyline, so it's slightly different. But you're right, there have to be more schools. So somehow work that in. I don't think they're giving all the names, I mean, that's not, but certainly because once you get to the high school level, slightly different. A kid could take the subway, right? Kids are given subway cards, even at middle school age, take the subway. For the elementary school kids, they cannot travel on their own. Certainly from Borough to Borough, or you can look at the Borough.
I think just your thought a little bit, you said Thanksgiving Eve, or I missed what you said.
So I just want to make sure that she said the evictions are not happening in years. That's good, at least not right now. But try to tie on the days that the DOE is actually open to the welcome center. Right, so if they're evicting people on Christmas Eve, then that's not going to be open. And it's just another place for them to go to get support. So it'd be nice if they don't, use it. But I have to look at the calendar, I don't.
Is that office closed when the schools are closed?
I gotta check that because they may not be. Because when the schools are closed, like the schools are closed during the summer, but that office is still remains open.
Okay, yeah.
Couple things is, okay, first.
Do you know how often DHS reviews availability? I know in the letter we're asking for them to do it more, but do we know how often they do it today? Okay.
I would figure that they probably don't. At this point, listen, it's a lot. I'm not gonna, there are a lot actually still, there are so many families experiencing this. DHS also has some, and this is what it is. But that, we have to still advocate for more. But yeah.
I know you mentioned about listing all the names. Maybe we can list by ages because then you'll be able to see, to your point, the school age children.
Yes.
The whole listing names. The other thing in the letter, could we also request that it be pushed back to the spring? It's going to be 30 degrees this week. It's going to ultimately get colder over the next 2 months, is there a way to push back in that regard? And then because we talked about schools and being placed in other boroughs, is there a part that we could also request that they connect families to the local school or Department of Education in that way?
We'll definitely do that. I think to your first point, the fact that they're expediting the closing, I don't think they're going to. It's a done deal.
I mean, I think they see it, tell me if I'm wrong, right? They see it as preventative, right? They know what the federal government is threatened with the new administration. So I think from their point of view, they think they're doing the probably the best thing that they could, the best solution to a set of really bad solutions. And so like, they rather do this than let this happen come January 2nd, January 3rd, and it's a mess. So,
if I may, I feel very strongly that to echo part of what Charles is saying, even if we view it as futile, I want to be on the record that we highly disapprove of the closure of the row first and foremost. I think like that's sentence number one, even if we recognize that our letter is probably not going to affect change. And I think that we should also advocate for some sort of coordination with the schools that are affected by this, because I can tell you with firsthand knowledge that the families go to the school secretaries and the principals and the APs first, and they say, what the hell are we going to do? DHS is telling us we're going to do one thing. It changes from day to day. And it's the same stability that the kids get in the classroom that the parents get from the school administration. So I think some type of coordination with communicating to principals and APs is also something that we should include.
The schools actually did get a letter. All the principals got a letter saying that this is coming down. But you're right about the fact that, and this is another reason why I think it's important to, if you're going to do the evictions, do them on a day where they're not going to be able to do them all the days the schools are open, because they're going to close for the Christmas holiday. But at least the DOE, because there is a built-in trust there, right? These families, a lot of them have already been to the welcome centers. They know people there. And you're right, whoever they're putting in the shelters are telling them to go here and there. They don't know these people. And so there's a lot of already mistrust. I mean, we can certainly put in the letter that we oppose this expedited closure, but this hotel was always going to be, the shelter was always going to be temporary. So we have our shelters that are not temporary, and then our temporary, I think they're the tier 1 shelters that are used in the hotel. But this specific location was one of the perks from health and hospitals, and it was specifically open to handle the asylum seekers. So they're going to.
This is the last term,
right?
It is.
Yeah.
So I'm struggling a little because I agree with you, and that we should oppose this kind of closure. However, if we pull back a little bit and look at this wider, what Jesse's saying is also probably a really valid point. And how do we acknowledge that as well in the letter?
Can I make an assumption? I think that's a bigger topic. I think the letter that you guys talked about last week was very specific.
Yes.
So I think we should stick with that on this motion, in my opinion, that was seconded. And we go with that. I think if we want to talk about, what's going to be coming down the line in January in terms of students and families and shelter, I think we should talk about that on a broader sense and figure that out. So
are you talking specifically about opposing the expedited timeline? I don't remember if that was in the letter.
It wasn't. It wasn't. No, that's what I'm trying to say. I think the letter as is, which is very specific about supporting the families that are in the row, that are getting this information that they should be given transportation coordination, and I think a few other things that we've all agreed on. I think that should just be it for now. And then we can talk about the bigger issue about,
But to address Jeffrey's point, we will certainly write it in a way that we're not happy about the way that this is playing out. So we always do that. Right, it's how it's happening, that's a problem, because we all knew it was going to happen. I mean, this is what it is.
I mean, I think we do have to acknowledge the fact that even though it's across the border, is literally just the middle of it. It is technically in CB5. So,
It is.
yeah, so I just.
They obviously impact our schools.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that they are just, their board is a very different board.
Very
They have no residents, they have barely any schools, like it's just a very. Yeah, it's a different, not to say that they don't care. I'm just trying to say like, when we can certainly coordinate with them, but I think they would say, go for it. They'd be like, sounds good. They're not gonna be like, oh, you're stepping on our toes on this. If we would start talking about bike lanes across the west, then maybe we would have an issue.
Co-sign that. Like, does that add power to it?
I don't see why we couldn't ask for that. That's not something, that's not a problem, if we're comfortable with that. It doesn't hold us up. If they don't want to, they don't want to, but if they do, they do.
Do they have to go through their own process?
Figure that out.
But that could hold it up.
Well, if it does, then we send our letter, and then when they can do it, we can say we got to sign on. You know, you can send a letter, the same letter again with more signatures at the end of it, and build up more support. It's, you know, I wouldn't let it slow it down.
Do you know by any chance if families are given information about how to protect themselves from ice, like legal at the shelter?
So I've had some clients who live there, and my understanding with children in school, and it's the schools who are giving the families and the student information that the family is using, like a little red cards.
Yes.
And like I was asking, and I didn't have to. They already had information, had the cards.
Okay. All right. That's good. Okay.
I mean, I'm in favor of this letter. I think this broader issue is one that we should, I know we've talked about it many times, but take back, because I think the point around this being an interagency solution, and obviously we know that it's going to take forever, but this is ridiculous. This is a continued issue. And even if you don't care about people, you should, but even if you don't, like, it is an incredible waste of resources.
It is, yeah.
Busing people crisscrossing all over the city, and here's this person, and I know that they have limited staff, like all of, government has limited staff, but there are technical tools that can also help with this. So this idea of like, we don't know that a spot has opened up here or there, with the tools that are available now, that is actually not an acceptable answer for them to be giving us anymore. 20 years ago, sure, but not anymore. And like, I do think we have, like, I think it's worth thinking through which agencies and do they all come together? Do you have them go one by one? But to start to, and I know it's a much bigger issue, but like to keep hammering them, because this idea of like, it's complicated, everybody's involved is just not acceptable. And that's how things just don't get fixed ever.
So Jesse, we had a connection with Leilani when she was Manhattan Borough Director of all the, well, this is not her, but still. She was in DHS, Manhattan Borough Director of all the shelters with families with children. Do we have a connection with that person currently? Do we know who it is? Okay.
Do we CC, we talk about, David talked about the new administration, do we start CCing the new administration on things just to bring more awareness to it?
No, yeah,
It's not gonna go anywhere.
Okay.
No one's gonna get it. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm just letting you know, no one's just gonna get it until we actually know who's running that side of on the side of the fence. I think you guys got a letter. We got a motion. We got a second. Let's do this. All right, that's unanimous.
Jeffrey has been doing some great work, reaching out to high schools, correct?
So the city council on high schools, I was not able to attend live. They've got a meeting tomorrow that I'm hoping to attend in person. And I don't know how tired you guys are from hearing people talk, but I've got an outline that I could walk you through about CCHS's 24-25 priorities and goals, as well as what their 25-26 prospective goals would be. And for those that aren't familiar, the top line, the Citywide Council on High Schools is an advocacy body that represents the families of about 300,000 New York public high school students. And some of their key accomplishments in 24 and 25 were focused on governance and accountability, AI and academic innovation, transportation and access, including advanced equitable distribution of Omni cards, student engagement. Part of that was focused on the first round of the CCHS resolution writing contest that promotes student leadership instead of participation. They focused on wellness and attendance, particularly chronic absenteeism, and they did that in a very data-informed manner. And then health and safety. Part of that main goal, especially for high school students starting to engage in exploring what's available to them, they focused on Narcan distribution to help combat the fentanyl crisis. And looking ahead towards their emerging priorities for 25 and 26, a primary goal is college readiness and access for higher learning. And they're doing that through a series of college application and admissions sessions for students and family. Again, they're focused on safety and well-being, but not necessarily solely on abuse and things of that nature, but a focus on mental health, wellness, and expanding that fentanyl awareness initiative. They're very focused on equity and inclusion, particularly new resolutions on career and technical educations as a mechanism for providing equity, as well as student voice and participation, and they're expanding opportunities for students to engage directly with the council. And then lastly, community collaboration. And I think this is a particularly interesting point because in my interaction with the two Manhattan elected members of CCHS, they've committed to me that they really want to increase their outreach across not just our community board, but all of Manhattan, and that they're committed to finding a way for us to work together so that we can get more insight from our city's high school students. So
That's awesome.
You know, this is something that we've been wanting to do for a long time. It's just to have more of a relationship with our high school community. So thank you for starting this work. And as you suggested, maybe we'll have them come in, the two borough appointees for and have a conversation with us. But you know, we've been talking about mental health here a lot. And so maybe, you know, this is something that we could focus on.
So I'm still going to be working at Ryan Health, and I'm going to be transitioning and working at school-based mental health clinic starting January 2nd at the Park West High School campus. That's apparently the sheet.
Yeah.
Kind of blew me in.
Gotta keep that one strong and alive. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so do you have contact information for the two Manhattan reps?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it would be great to have them come either here in person or if they want to do it virtually, that's fine. But I think I'll sort of getting an understanding of they have sort of like a look ahead for the next academic year or maybe the new year. But I think like it touches upon transportation, which we talked about, and AI and sort of how they're thinking through these different things. And mental health definitely has been an issue that I think we've put some energy behind, but it would be interesting to see sort of what their thoughts are and what they're thinking about in terms of like, yeah, with high schools. So it would be great to build that relationship.
Yeah, I think it could be a good touch point to get like a broader, you know, like Jesse worked really hard to get in contact with our district's high school principals and get them better engaged. This could be a way to crack that open.
Are they looking for, I guess I'm just trying to understand sort of like this group there, it's made up of like appointed.
They're all elected members.
So their families, they have children in the high school system. And then they're looking for greater engagement, not only with community boards, but also are they interested in hearing from like their schools, their high schools and their principals, or how?
I think that's part of the process that they use in their own council. But I'll ask them specifically whether or not they need increased engagement with principals.
Yeah, just as much as we can get it focused on like the CB4 high school and the particular issue areas. So, yeah.
Generally, these councils, like, the council for the elementary and middle schools, which I used to sit on, and do school visits. But there was a lot of us, right? So when you get to the high school, there's only 2 for all of Manhattan. So of course, they're not
okay,
going to
right.
visit it's just
That's-
impossible.
Okay.
So it's still worth.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right. Thanks, Jeff.
Yes. Oh, yes, we have a microphone.
You've been very patient, so I'm assuming you have something to say.
Yeah, I'm looking to go into that.
Okay, so we just, before we go over to, does anybody have anything that they want to see? We're looking at having, Aaron has put us in touch with a school that is a language immersion school. And so we're looking at having them on either December or January. We also have a couple of other items, but does anyone here want to see anything in the next couple of months?
We don't have it.
Jesse, were we gonna take a tour somewhere or?
Field trip. It's in the works. It's in the works.
Very good.
Yeah, no, it's in the works.
Yes.
I know, well, it's Josephine is teasing me. So I visited MNN station, or the Manhattan Network Neighbor Network, which is the public access station for Manhattan. So it moved to 38th Street about a few years ago, and I just hadn't had a chance to actually look at it until like just the year. I went on a tour. It's amazing. They want similar kind of thing. They want to engage.
Yeah.
They want to get involved. I connected them with the Knights Tenant Association because I thought that might be a good kind of act. And Ken Jockers, the Hudson Yards Bid, like folks that, but their station. I mean, if everybody's grown up with cable access, whatever your thought of cable access is, it is blown out the door by these guys. Like they have a full blown like CGI, like you could like pretend to be walking down, England 1800s, like, and they have the whole background, like it's like crazy. So that's what I will eventually have that set up. Yeah.
The 1800s. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're right now. Your board to discuss it.
Okay, that's okay. We finished with all of that, so we can hear from you now. Yeah.
Okay, my name is Residue, and my dispensary was stopped by school, in Boston. So I haven't come by the, previous board since I was approved to speak with you guys as a open. So I was coming here specifically involved in schools to, ask what I can do to support and how I do that. And how really especially with and that's just basically it. I'm going to people. And I also wanted to read that if you guys are
Some good examples.
Yeah.
You want chocolate bar?
It's over. The dollar amount.
Well, we can the task force,
Right? Yeah, no, so let's talk quickly.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, just very quickly, your dispensary is open
Yes.
and it's running. So the conflict is the distance from the school issue has been resolved.
It hasn't been resolved, but they are going to.
But that's not because of your specific,
Yeah.
it's because of the state's decision to redo the law. So that's held over until the next year, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so just so you know, our cannabis task force is meeting, and as you know, you come to it, and we'd love to have you there. So I'd love to have you back. If you want to come next Thursday, it's in this room.
Okay.
And so you should come next Thursday and let us know what's going on.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. But if there is a specific school that you would like to reach out to that you're having difficulty, please contact me. be helpful, yeah.
And what was the dispensary again, I'm sorry?
It's 723.
Thank you so much.
It's here.
Yeah, what's the cross street?
Between 51st and 52nd.
I was trying to visualize it
Is that
too,
right?
yeah.
Well, so this, I mean, we can go down this rabbit hole.
Yeah.
The law, they changed the way they read the laws, right? So the law was originally the dispensary has to be 500 feet from from a school that's not on the same road, which was like the weirdest thing. So if it was around the corner, it's not on the same road, it can be that. There was a rule change that said they read it wrong and it needs to be 500 feet radius, which really screwed over a number of dispensaries in Manhattan in particular, because they were all 500 feet from a house of worship or a school or whatever. They just weren't followed on the same road. That's been laid over till next year, until basically they're trying to make the state legislature change the rules. And so there's an injunction on that decision. So that's what she was referencing. And so everybody's kind of basically in a holding pattern who's stuck in this scenario until next year. So it's more than you ever wanted to know about cannabis. All right, Mike.
Hi, everybody. Just FYI, from a technical standpoint, the audio is pretty messed up tonight. Sometimes it is that way, sometimes it's not. There's areas of the table you can hear people talk, and there's areas of the table that you can't really understand what people are saying when you're on Zoom. For anybody who's on Zoom and watching, I don't know if you have a table microphone or something like that or not, but I just wanted to let you know that that's happening.
Mike.
So you know. I am two things are happening. First of all, the concert's happening this Thursday. I hope people can make it. It looks like we have a good crowd happening. There are still some seats available. Come to the Eventbrite website to sign up. It's Mike Freeman Zone of Vibe, Hell's Kitchen Vibe Centric. It's a music concert as well as history of Hell's Kitchen, which has been happening at all of my concerts for the past, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years, something like that. So it's both of those things kind of tied together. So please check it out if you get a chance. I'm still trying to open a dialogue with Brookfield 34th Street Partnership and or the High Line. I was hoping to invite them to this concert, but I don't really have any way of getting a hold of somebody.
Mike, that's on me. I'm sorry. I told you I'd work on that and I haven't gotten to that yet. I will re-up my connections on that. That's my fault.
Okay, so that's all I had. I hope to see some of you at the concert. It's going to be a good one.
Right,
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Record for 8. Usually we have you in and out of here, but I don't want to make a motion to adjourn. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.